Hey everybody, this is Chaz with the Paint Nerds. How you doing today? I know the video's a little late. Apologize about that. Things kind of got out of the control, life happening, which is pretty much how that works. Today I'm actually going to talk to you guys about basing. A lot of people in the mini community, they already know this. Some of you guys who are new to it, you get these cool little, black, discs, and people tend to either put their model on it, and when they put their model on it, they just kind of paint around it, or they glue little things on there to make it a little fuller. I'm going to show you a couple cool little things you can do to turn this basic black disc into a more natural place for your miniature to sit. This is also a cool little bit if you're trying to put an extra dimension onto a flat plane. So like if you're painting tiles or plates and it's supposed to be hung up and you want it to look a little like you want texture, this is going to be a really cool way to do it. It doesn't take a whole lot, and all you have to do is kind of work with the medium and the paints and the colors just to get everything where you need it to be. So like that, I'm going to put the camera down so you can see what I'm doing, and I'm going to give you some ideas and some little tips right now. Let's get started. Alright, so we have my little discs. All these cool little discs right here. Try to get the camera sorted so it's not all wonky. Alright, now, you see I have two paint pots here. I have Rhinox Hide. I have Mornfang Brown. These are more earthy tones. You can also use things like Tesseract Glow. You could use contrast paints. You can even use acrylic inks. Now, the most important parts of this are going to be things like this, which is a gloss medium by Liquitex. Great stuff. This is also a matte medium, also by Liquitex. These are the mediums are going to be kind of your binders, and they're going to be what allow you to get things to stick. You don't really need a whole lot of it if you're using paint right out of a pot. Now, one of the most important things is how are you going to make that texture. Right here I have anti-skid additive for like epoxy floors and paints and stuff like that. They're really fine, like almost like Aluma-Silica granules. You can use sand. You can use fine like wood dust, sawdust, if you will. You could use cat litter. You can use any type of material that will fit not only for what your model is doing, but in the area. So I'm going to show you a little cool thing. Is this was done with the with my mix. Notice the mud looks wet. You have this green right here, which was literally Tesseract Glow because I had to test the theory. So what goes on is you have all of this sand that looks wet, then you have this kind of ooze kind of coming up, kind of like, it's kind of like, Cthulhu-ish, eldritch green, which pretty cool. So you can put that on your base. When it dries, it kind of sits there. You can dry brush over all these little ridges and get another set of color. You can offset everything. You can even paint the green to make it a little darker, and you'll get a little more out of it. Now, the dry version, and you can actually buy stuff, it's called Texture. This is Stryland Battlemire, and it literally looks like mud. It's got all that rich, ooey gooey goodness. And the way we like to apply it, like traditional, we use a tool like a spatula like this. You can even use a spatula like this if you have a bigger piece, obviously. So what you do is you just scrape some out of the bottle, and then you apply it to the surface of whatever it is you're trying to put texture on. So I'll do it right here where I just drop it on. Sometimes I get messy and use my hand, and I can drop it on there like that, and a little water and a paintbrush and you can smooth it out so it's not as, you know, hardcore, because this stuff will genuinely just move around on you. You don't need to prime anything. You don't need to do anything special for this. Some people do. I don't find it necessary. So what I'll do is I'll just take a small, lightly damp brush, and you can literally just push it down and kind of smear it where you need it to be. And because it's textured, it literally has a battlefield look into it. So right there, I've effectively just made a battlefield look. It's got highs and lows. It's got actual, you know, detail into it. Go a little higher. My lighting is a little horrible right now. So this right here, all we do is we set this to the side and let it dry. And then you can go back after it's dry and you can hit it with some dry brush with a lighter brown to give it like a light source style look. Or you can glue some like flocking or whatever to it. Put some fake bushes on it, however you want to do it, and then you can put your miniature on it. And then voila, boom, right here, you got your miniature base. So, how do we make this stuff, you ask? Well, I always try to find a disposable little piece of plastic. I keep little things like this around when they're available, simply because they have a little void you can fill. Okay, and having that void allows you to mix a specific quantity for a specific size. So that way you're not wasting your paint, you're not wasting your gloss medium, and you're not wasting any of your texture additive. So I might put this up a little bit right here so you can see a little better to what I'm doing. So we're going to make an earth tone using Rhinox hide. Okay. My anti-skid additive. And I'm going to use a little bit of matte medium. Okay. Now the reason I use matte medium is it kind of helps the paint mix in with everything without having to, you know, add water. And when it dries a little more rigid than just having paint on it. So what I like to do is I'll pour a little bit of medium, the anti-skid additive, into the void right here. Okay, it's not too much, just enough to, you know, get me in trouble if the NSA is watching. Sorry, that's a really poor taste joke, and I apologize. I'm laughing on the inside. So I've already shaken up this matte medium because I've been using it already, but I add 1, 2, 3 drops. So I've got my 3 drops of matte medium with my skid additive. So I'm going to take my Rhinox hide. I'm going to make sure it's mixed properly. Give it a shake. Shake, shake, shake. I don't know the rest of the song. So you get yourself a good heap on there. And then you just drop that in and you start mixing. Now you don't have to be super accurate. You don't have to be like straight up on point. Now when you use gloss and matte medium, gloss medium will make it shiny. It'll make it look more wet. So if you want a wet mud look, go with your gloss medium. I'm using a matte medium, so it's going to dry very flat, so it's going to look dry. So after you're said and done, and you've got it on your brush like that, you see that the additive is all the way through. The color is Rhinox hide, obviously. So then we can take this and we can apply it directly to the base. We can paint on a little bit, we can kind of mush it down, make it feel a little more, you know, we can make the texture look and feel a little more realistic, giving it natural highs and lows, like this is a dank, dirty mud. that your character is standing on, and if you have a table with tiles that look like, a wet, broken area, and you have your guy standing on this base is actually going to fit right in to what you're doing. So that's going to take about, I usually try to check it every 20-30 minutes, but I've had homemade textures go about an hour and a half before they're fully dry. So one of my big suggestions for this is to do your bases first if you know what color you're going to need before you take your little dude and slap it on there. This also gives you the opportunity to see where all the textures are laying, and actually, you can take a hook end of this little tool and you can sit there and kind of drive like pits into it, make it look, a little more like tread upon, I guess is the word we would use. So now keep in mind, this is going to take about an hour to dry. So this gives you time to, once you get all your bases done, this gives you time to actually put these off to the side, let them dry. Now, once you let them dry, and you can add other things to it, like bushes or woodland debris, whatever you happen to need. So another cool thing that people like to do is they'll take a base like this, they'll take the anti-skid additive, or they'll take kitty litter, or they'll take sawdust. And one of the cool things they'll do here is they'll put the stuff on a plate, okay? And that's kind of like the most important part. I don't know why my thumbs look so dirty. Oh, that's because I'm holding brown. But what they'll do is they'll put super glue on the top of this, right? Cyanoacrylate. Then they'll take it and they'll turn it upside down and on the plate and kind of tap it in, right? Then when they turn it over, they look to see where there's any raised edges, how it looks, and they can add a little more glue, and then they can just kind of roll that one side so it builds up one side over the other. And then what some people will do is they'll actually take, after they do that, they'll take more glue and they'll just slowly build up one side, and then kind of break away over here. That's just one of the many ways to do it. And then once these things are dry, what I tend to do is I'll take a brush like this. I'll obviously it'll be cleaned, and it won't have these little flyaways. And I like to paint, unless otherwise specified by a customer. I always base my brushes on the very edge with a metallic, usually a metallic that works well within the color scheme. So if there's a lot of gold on let's get this up here, make it look all pretty. So what happens is if there's a lot of gold on the piece, I'll put gold around the base. If there's a lot of iron or rust colors, I tend to go with that. Whatever metal's predominant on the model itself. That way, it's got some cohesion. The base is, the ring of the base is the same color as the majority of the metal. There really is no set way to do this, and there's a lot of basing materials you can get. I personally even have a pair of forceps, so if I'm putting wood or bushes or leaf litter, I'm literally taking a little bit of glue, dropping it and placing it on the model in specific places. But I only do that after I have my miniature on the model itself. I only do that after I know where the model's going to sit, after the texture basing. Now, that just takes a little bit of time. Got your forceps, tweezers, what have you. Your glue, a little bit of glue onto the material that you're putting on there, and then you would gently put it on the base. You would gently just kind of boop. So, like if I were to take this guy right here, and this was a flat black base, I would literally fill this in where it needed to be filled in, and I would, little piece by little piece, kind of fill in where he's standing and kind of fill in around him. Okay, I'm gonna be right back. I've got a proof in the case in point. So keep in mind, all of the things you do when it comes to basing are wholeheartedly up to you. You build them as you need them. But as you can see, this guy right here has gold base because the predominant metal there is gold. But he's got a lot of really cool, like, texture going all the way around the base. All that stuff was kind of glued on, thrown on, and kind of built up. So it looks like he's standing in kind of a marsh. Okay, he's got that, it looks like he's got actual earth under him, like a little, like he's an actual creature that's been kind of picked up, and a deity is holding him like, haha, you are my new champion. And that's why you base. When you use texture basing and you use basing materials and you give the model a more real world, even alien world, and I'm going to tell you right now, sometimes some of the most alien stuff you can find and do, just, it's perfect. It literally, like you're pulling out, a creature in a moment of time, and they're frozen there, and you get to see the world that they're in at that moment. It creates that perfect snapshot. And that's what I love about basing, is it gives you that snapshot. It's like, here's this person that was kind of sealed in time, and now he's on my table and he's able to go forward and do his thing. Now, another way you can use these textures is you can add blues and then dry brush white. And if you put it on like an ocean scenery on a flat tile, when people look at it, it's going to have a three-dimensional look, like, that sand is actually sand. Or, you can put the texture on the cliffs and the textures will feel like it's on a cliff. And the best part is when the stuff is dry, it's fully paintable. Same with the method of, building up with super glue and sawdust and kitty litter or actual leaf litter or actual sift. There's people out there who will actually sift dirt. Let that sink in. That's how real they want their miniature bases to look, or their entire scenery to look. They want it to look so real that they will actually go out and dig into the earth and sift their own soil. Okay, like you see these things built up, they're made with actual soil. It's not makeshift soil. It's not painted soil. It's not made to look like soil. It is actually soil. It is actually earth. They do the same thing with rocks. Like I know people who will go walk along riverbeds with a colander, and they'll scoop up river mud and kind of sift it out and find little pebbles, and they literally have them assorted by size. It all depends on you. You are the artist. You are the construct. You are this designer. And I think it's amazing how people literally just grab onto this, and they can make these beautiful scenes look so real and so natural. Like they have this understanding of how things flow in nature, and they literally put it in the scenery. And even though I'm using a very small little base, a very small little bit, I am striving to give that small little base just its own little touch of natural, an organic nature that these models will stand on. And the reason I like doing this is it takes away a lot of the fake. It takes a lot of the fantasy out of it. Yes, the character is a fantasy character. Yes, obviously, this guy would not exist as a real creature in the real world that we live in today, or any alien world. I don't know, but this creature wouldn't exist. And if he was just straight up on a black base, it would be obvious that he doesn't exist, that it's a miniature figure, and it's not to be taken seriously. But when you add this organic layer where you have bog around him and he's standing there in his majesty, you have to take a pause. You have to sit there and go, well, is this like an actual thing, an actual person? Or is this just a toy? Now, there's some people who, they'll walk by and see that and they go, oh, well, that's kind of cool. And there's some people who walk by, oh, miniature, nice. Some people just ignore it. And then there's some people who go, I want to do that. How do I do that? And so I teach them to do that. And I think it's one of the main reasons why I love doing this is because I give you every possible way I can possibly think of to bring you into this world, use this medium to create the beauty you feel you need to create. I will always go out of my way to not dictate to people how they create. You're creating for you, or you're creating to put beauty out in the world, or you're creating because you think it's fun, or you do it because it's therapeutic. You do it because there's some catharsis. And that is beautiful. Using art, bringing in, even if the imagery is painful for people to see, people need to see it. Sometimes having that painful image in our head is going to wake us up to what's going on and how things make us feel and how we can stop feeling that way, or what we can do to fix it so nobody else has to feel that way. And I think that's important for us as artists, as creators, even in content creation. It's important for us to genuinely feel for one another and strive to help one another. And I think this is a good start for the paint dude nerds. God, I can't even remember what the hell I'm thinking. I apologize. I have not enough caffeine, and I am trying to push this together so I can get my day finished out. So keep painting, keep creating, keep having fun. If you have questions, leave them in the comments. Heck, go to the Facebook page, ask questions. I'm here. Chris is here. He'll probably see it before I do. We're always willing to help. So with that, take care of yourself.